1999, and with the first class. He did his Masters of Science by Research Manufacturing Technology Division, Department of Mechanical Engineering, College of Engineering, Gindi, Anna University, Chennai. In 2002, then he did his Doctor of Philosophy from Department of Metallurgical Engineering and Material Science, IIT Bombay, in 2007, and he was also having a teaching assistant responsibility from 2002 to 2004 in IIT Bombay, and in ARCI fellow also. He was ARCI fellow in IIT Bombay. His research interest includes metal forming, which basically talks about sheet metal forming, formability, evaluation and prediction, and forming of tubes, forging, joining and forming, which includes laser and friction stir welded blanks, welding, adhesive bonded sheets, formability, evaluation, joining by end, forming of tubes, and computational applications in metal forming and joining, which basically includes final element simulation and analysis, cellular automata, FE modeling, neural network computations for process and material design. So this is one of the fields that is a extension of his work actually. So this basically opens up for the research activities that we want to do. His research and teaching experiences includes for formability studies on friction stirred welding sheets and tubes made of similar and dissimilar materials, forming of adhesive bonded sheet metals, steel sheets, sheet forming limit prediction and experimental validation, expert systems, neural network model development to predict the forming of tailor welded sheets, cellular automata, finite element, CAFE, modeling of friction stir welding, end forming of tubes, stir based spot welding techniques, FE simulation for materials and process design. He received a number of awards, so it basically includes received the Best Paper Award in ICAM 2012 at IIT BHU Varanasi in December 16 to 19, 2012. He also received the Best Paper Award in ICAM 2011 at Dayalbagh Educational Institute, Agra in 2011, December 18 to 21. He chaired a session during ICAM 2011 at Dayalbagh Education Institute in the same time, that is December 18 to 21, 2011. His paper presented at PFAMXX, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University and Hong Kong SAR, China, from 15 to 18 December 2011, was awarded the Best Student Paper Bronze Award with cash prize. He was awarded the ARCI Fellowship during PhD from 2004 to 2007 at IIT Bombay. This I already told. He has 3 edited books in his name. He has contributed to three book chapters. He has got 5 international papers, journals, papers in international journals. He has got 6 international and national conferences who attended. He completed 6 sponsored projects, and another 2 projects are ongoing and under his able guidance. And he has got 6 ongoing projects, and he completed 6 PhDs under him. He has got 6 PhDs under him, and 6 already completed. He has got 25 completed MTech projects, and one is ongoing. So by looking into his profile, we can easily understand that he is a very capable person of his field, and he must make total use of this 2 hours that he's with us. And it's tough to get a speaker of his caliber to take that advantage of. So I request the main thing that I felt from his total profile is that he is a professor who basically is working on computational side also. It is very rarely seen that the people of materials are working on the computational side also. So this is something that I really I'm glad and I'm honored to introduce you all with Professor Narayanan, because he will be helping you in this field which is basically very upcoming. So today he will be talking about tailor-made sheets for lightweight applications, and I wish all the participants will have a very good time ahead, and I will welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for being here with us. I think the participants will basically have a very good time here in this session. Thank you so much, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. Thanks, sir, and thanks, Dr. Namrata, and for the introduction. Yeah, and I will try my level best to give whatever is possible about this, very wide topic. Okay. I think I'll try to give a bird's eye view of whatever topic that I mentioned. Should I share my presentation? Can I do that?
Yes,
Yeah, please,
sir.
please.
Can you see my first slide?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
It is visible. Okay.
Yes.
Is it in full screen mode now?
The slideshow mode is not open there.
Does it move?
No, sir.
Not hearing you.
Slides are not moving.
Oh, not moving, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does it move?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It moves now, but I am not keeping it in full slide mode. I am making it full slide mode. Let's see again. Does it move?
Sir, full slide mode. Sir, it is
Yeah.
not visible.
Full slide mode is not visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now?
No, sir.
Does it move now?
Sir, it is on third slide, but slideshow mode is still not there.
Okay. I'll keep it like this. Okay.
Okay, sir, it is fine. Yes.
I think we'll start. Okay. Probably this Google Meet has some problem. Yesterday also I had some problem in other presentation with our students. Okay. Some of the students, they are able to project properly and do it. Some they could not. Okay. Anyway, I think now I am zooming it a little bit and then we will start the session.
Okay, sir.
I think it's visible, no?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I can go to second slide and you can see this figure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. I think we'll start. Let us not waste time on this. Okay, thank you once again, sir and madam also. And thanks for inviting me to this FDP, Program on Novel Materials. And the topic I chose was basically tailor-made metallic structures for lightweight applications. So I made it such that I guess we'll be able to complete it in about, say, maybe 1.5 hours or so, something like that, and we can have a brief discussion. Okay. Okay. So what I will do is I will try to remove my video. Okay, so that we have some loop for this one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me go to the next slide. Okay. So tailor-made metallic structures for lightweight applications. Okay. There are two important keywords here. Tailor-made metallic structures or tailor-made sheets also, you can tell. I just made it a little bit general. Tailor-made metallic structures and lightweight applications. Okay. So this diagram will tell you, weight reduction. Okay. So weight reduction basically means it's material weight reduction, and on the whole, you can see an automotive weight reduction, something like that. Okay. So and we know that there are several ways of, several strategies people have evaluated, people have put forward for this weight reduction. Okay. So some of them are quoted here, you can see. And you can see, from materials, from processes. Okay, you can have hydroforming, superplastic forming, composites, So then magnesium alloys, then again composites, thermoplastic composites, then Taylor welded blanks. Okay, so these are all certain important weight reduction methods which led to lightweight applications. Okay, and it is also mentioned with these arrow marks. You can see that which location basically this type of applications are available in a car. Okay, that's what is shown here. Okay, and I also highlighted at the right lower end about Taylor welded blanks, and it is it's written as aluminum Taylor welded blanks. This is one of the method, and we are going to start with this, and we are going to little bit extend the discussion for other methods also. Okay, that's going to be the flavor of this entire presentation. Okay. And you also know that with materials development or modification in materials, processes also developed. Right. Because not all materials are manufactured, or you can make components with those raw materials, not only with some processes, but with a different manufacturing process. So naturally, the original manufacturing process meant for let us say forming or joining of the earlier materials may not be suitable for these new materials or modifications in the original material. So naturally, in parallel to materials development, processes, manufacturing processes also got developed. So basically, it is materials manufacturing combination. Okay, materials development is supported by manufacturing process, and manufacturing process also supported by materials development. Okay, so these two are basically you cannot separate these two developments. Right. So now let us move on to the next slide, and I'm defining here. Okay, what is the meaning of this tailor-made sheets? Okay, so this tailor-made sheets, as the name suggests, basically you can combine sheets like a tailor. Okay, this is not something new. Only thing is, like, people don't speak about combining various materials or sheets of different thicknesses or materials. People spoke about this long before also. For example, for instance, our cylinders, LPG cylinders are made by two deep drawn components welded at the center. Correct. So that type of welding and making a metallic structure is already there. Okay, that is not something new. But what is new in this is you can combine different materials and different thicknesses. Okay, so the more the difference, more is going to be problem. Okay, so sheets of same or different thicknesses, properties, okay, they are welded, okay, which means they are tailored to specific shape and size. That's the point here. Okay, so you have one aluminum grade, you have another aluminum grade. Okay, maybe different grades and different thicknesses, or different grades, same thicknesses, or different grades, different thicknesses. Any combination you can weld at a particular portion. Okay, and then you can deform that material you can form that material to make a component. Okay, that is the context here. Okay, so if welding is used, then these tailor-made sheets are called as tailor welded sheets. Okay, and welding is not the only method. There are other methods also. We will discuss one after another. Okay, so initially, to start with, you will see I've given you an example that this door inner component is a very predominantly used one. Okay, and you will see that this sheets here, it has got one particular material, let us say an aluminum series 5182 5 series, and it has got 1 mm thickness and 2.5 mm thickness on both sides, and they are welded at a particular location. Now this can be formed into a component like this. Okay, and now comes the question, how this welding or weld is going to affect the forming behavior, how this material combination is going to change the forming behavior, okay, to the worst or to the best. Okay, and for example, these are laser welded components. Okay, and it's not mandatory that it has to be laser welded. It can be welded by any other means also. Okay, so this is where the context is, and this figure is going to give you the complexity of the component. Okay, and the materials and the thicknesses with which it is made. Okay, so we are aware of this, right? The multiple stampings, we are aware of this, right? So you make components at different stages, okay, and then you weld them, and then you make a component. That we already know. That's why I gave an example of LPG cylinder. Okay, but it is now vice versa. Okay, you weld them and then form it. Okay, you do welding, the bottom figure you will see, and then you do stamping. Stamping means forming, and then you finally make a component. Okay, like for example, this photo shows, this is in the public domain. This photo shows basically a car door outer rim. Okay, and this is basically made of tailor welded blank technology. Okay, so why tailor made blanks? Okay, what is the need for that? Okay, so as the name suggests, my topic as it suggests, okay, it is mainly required for weight reduction. Okay, blank weight reduction, number one, and number two, as a result of that, you have fuel consumption. There are a lot of opportunities for cost reduction. Okay, and the different components may need different property requirements at different locations. Say, for example, local strength resistance, local corrosion resistance you may need. So in that case, the material combination is possible in tailor-made blanks or tailor-welded blanks, to make it very specific. So that gives flexibility for component designers. The fourth point, as I mentioned, okay, you can work on different materials and thicknesses. Okay, so there are hundreds and hundreds of journal papers by now in this subject, and that is mainly because, okay, of existence of such technology, right? So we have flexibility for academicians also. Okay, but industry, and at industry level, you will see that the component designers also has got flexibility. Scrap utilization, which is very important. Okay, so you know that you have a particular size of a sheet, okay, or any metallic structure which is which will be a scrap. Okay, of course there are strict scrap utilization methods, but what is important here is that scraps can be utilized to make a tailor welded sheets or tailor made sheets. Okay, and there are chances that you go for fewer spot welds. Okay, I've heard that there are about 10,000, 15,000 resistant spot welds in a car, in a typical car. So probably you can reduce that. Okay, and as a consequence of that, you can reduce operational cost also. Okay, so improve dimensional accuracy. These are all possible. These are all possible advantages as well. Okay, and reduce material usage. Okay, so you have a chance to use a particular material in a lesser manner, quantity as compared to some other material, because you are going to tailor made. Okay, and some materials in combination with some welding methods have got inherent advantage. Say, for example, laser welding, it is quick, fast, and it has got a smaller weld zone. Okay, on the other hand, if you go for friction stir welding on especially aluminum alloys, there are proofs that the formability can be enhanced. Ductility or formability. And ductility, you understand, right? A typical stress strain diagram. Okay, we have different mechanical properties, right? One of that is the material's ductility. Okay, so that is the limit within which you can have a useful plastic deformation. You can make a component, ductility or formability. Ductility we tell in terms of properties. Okay, tensile ductility, like that, with respect to tensile behavior. Formability is more on the engineering side. Okay, so more on the component aspect, more on the sheet aspect, not on the material aspect. Okay, but both are going to tell you the going to give you same meaning. Okay, it is the limit within which you can have a useful formability of a material, useful forming of a material, beyond which formability is lost. And there are lots and lots of data available on relating the vehicle weight reduction with respect to fuel consumption. One of this is given here. Okay, there are a lot of statistics data available now. Okay, so you can European Automotive Agency and different continents, they have generated lots and lots of reports on how to reduce weight, various methods, and what are their significance, different materials, different cars used in that aspect, and how it is connected to fuel consumption. And you also know nowadays we speak about e-vehicles, isn't it? The fuel concept itself is gone. It's more on the battery aspect. Now there also people speak about lightweight components, lightweight batteries, use of different materials, all those things. And just to have a quick map of this applications, you will see this is specifically for tailor welded blanks, where you use welding for making the this particular component. Okay, this is in a car. You can see a floor panel from the bottommost one, and rail front, bumper, wheelhouse, shock absorber, A pillar, B pillar, roof reinforcement, rail rear, body side inner. So there are lots and lots of application in this where Taylor welder blanks are being used. Okay, it is also possible that in the cars that we use in a day-to-day life can have such components already existing into it. Probably we may not know because the weld zone is going to be very small. We may not know it even. And some more examples. This I would like to highlight a couple of important things. One, you will see that the blue color outline is basically the initial sheet component, Taylor welded blank, and the red color ones are formed ones from this. Okay, that is number one. Number two, you will see that there are details about the material and the material strength requirement, what is available, and the thickness combination. All are given in this figure. You can see that the blank number 1, lower left corner, you can see it's a dual phase steel and the thickness of about 0.5, I think, and it has got strength of tensile strength of 500 to 800. That's the combination. It is welded. Okay, and here you will see it's a dual phase steel again. It's 1.1 mm thickness, and here you will see, okay, sorry, 700 by 1000 means yield strength to UTS. That's the mean. 500 to 800 means yield strength UTS. Like that you can imagine. And see the variety, no? Dual phase steel, all are dual phase steel. That is number one. Their strengths are not same. They are different. Two different pairs. 700,000, 500, 800. Right? This is number two. Thicknesses, if you concentrate, 1.1, 1.4, this is 0.6, and this is also close to 0.5 or 0.6. Okay. So such type of things are basically welded. Okay, and you will see that they make this particular component is called as wheelhouse inner. Floor rear. Here also you will see dual phase steel, dual phase steel, dual phase steel, and different material combination. You can see 350, 600 with 210, 340 and 700,000. Okay, and 0.7 is to 1.1 is to 1.1 is to 0.6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different materials totally. Okay, they are welded. Here. Okay. Rocker inner, again 2 different materials, 1.5, 0.7, same grade. Rail rear, the blue one is the initial dimension, initial sheet, and the red one is the deformed one. Again, 700,000, 500, 800, 1.8, 1.8. Same thickness, slightly different thickness is 1.8 and 1.1, but totally 2 different grades. Body side outer is a very classic example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different parts are there. Okay, this is bicarbonate steel, dual phase, bicarbonate steel. These are all different, high strength steel and advanced high strength steel. We are not going to discuss much on that, but this will give you an idea at least of what kind of materials are used. 0.7, 1.5, 1.8, 1.2, 0.7. Okay, so these are all variety of materials and thicknesses. They are welded together to make this particular component. Ultimate aim is to weight reduction and component efficiency, improving the component efficiency. And again, different examples. You can have a single straight weld, multiple straight welds. I gave you an example. No? Single straight weld. Here you can see multiple straight welds. Right. Angular welds are possible. Right. We have seen examples. Non-linear weld line is also possible. You can have curvilinear weld. That depends on how you optimize the size of the sheet and shape of the weld. Patch TWB is also possible. Patch TW means you keep the sheets one above the other. Like I gave some example here, you can see. Before forming, and this is after forming. You can see that one sheet is above the other one. Okay, there are 2 patches with the spot welds actually. They are joined by spot welds, but this is also called as Taylor welded blanks. Instead of joining them in a plane, this is made one above the other. Right, fine. So now, with this introduction, we are slowly moving into certain important, crucial parameters which determines the overall forming behavior of this particular Taylor welded blanks. Okay, later on, we will extend that for other methods of making this tailor-made sheets. Okay. In that context, I would like to tell you here very briefly about something called as forming limit curve. Okay. So this forming limit curve is generally drawn between major strain and minor strain. Okay. And the curve is actually this particular curve, which is inside this diagram, this V-shaped curve. Okay. And the whole diagram is actually called as forming limit diagram. This is mainly used to evaluate formability of sheets. Okay. Like tensile behavior, like we generally do, like in lab also we do, isn't it? We take a rod, okay, or a sheet, and we have a dog bone type of shape, and then we do, tensile test in a UTM and get its stress strain behavior and various mechanical properties, correct? So now the point here is this forming limit curve is also like that kind of material property. If you don't do anything to the material, the forming limit curve generally does not change, like a stress strain behavior. Okay. And in a sustained behavior, you have something called ductility. And ductility is going to tell you, give you some idea about the limit of useful deformation. Correct. We know uniform elongation, we know total elongation, correct. Uniform elongation corresponds to UTS, and total elongation is a final failure. Okay. These two quantities are generally used to quantify ductility. Okay. But generally total elongation is the ductility, we say 30% means you can deform the material up to 30%. And within that, you will get useful forming behavior, formability, or useful shape, permanent shape change. Correct. Here also, as long as you are below the forming limit curve, okay, any strain coordinate, minor strain, major strain, below the forming limit curve, okay, are safe. That means you can deform the material easily without failure, below the curve. Once you reach this curve, it means that you have reached the limit of formability. Necking can start here. Above the curve, it is definitely a failure. Okay, and you can deform the material under various modes of deformation, various combinations of minor strain, major strain. That's why this dotted paths tell you. From left, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different paths are shown. It's referred as row, isn't it? These are different strain paths. So various minor strain, major strain combinations, you can get limit strains, and you can join all of them to get the forming limit curve. So essentially, forming limit curve is nothing but, this curve is nothing but the locus of limit strains of sheets deformed at various modes of deformation or strain paths. Okay, I'm not going to describe more than this because it needs larger explanation, but I'm not going to discuss more than this. But this is very important for us to know what is this, okay, in the context of sheet deformation. There are similar concepts available in bulk forming also. Okay, in forging, extrusion also, such type of limit curves are also available. Okay, but the final fact is below this curve, the material can undergo safe deformation without failure, but mandatory plastic deformation. Plastic deformation is mandatory. We have to cross the yield locus, we have to cross the yield strength, and we have to go into the strain hardening region of a material and further deform it. It will reach necking. Right? When necking comes, forming limit curve comes into picture. Okay, once you are above this curve, you have problem. Okay, the material can have definite failure, physical failure. Okay, and this FLC0, which I am focused here, is nothing but one particular mode of deformation. That is nothing but plane strain mode of deformation. The limit strain in plane strain mode of deformation. That means if you pick up y-axis, you will reach the red color point here. And beyond that, if you deform in that y-axis itself, where minor strain is 0, you will have failure. This is the least window you have in the entire forming limit curve. Okay, these are the details I want to tell you. More details you can find out. You can discuss with me also. Okay, and now, and of course, parallel to this, you have stress strain behavior, which you all know, which we actually teach in class, and we do lab courses also on that. Okay. Now, when it comes to formability of tailored sheets or tailor-made sheets or tailor-welded sheets, there are few additional parameters other than the sheet properties that are important. Okay, so we know sheet properties, right? So basic mechanical properties like yield strength, UTS, uniform elongation, total elongation, strain hardening exponent, its anisotropy index, strain hardening exponent. Then it's strain rate sensitivity index. Okay, so maybe it's corrosion resistance. Okay, then it's creep behavior, fatigue behavior. Okay, so these are all various properties that we generally speak about, right? So other than those properties of one sheet, when you weld two sheets to make this tailor-made sheets, some extra additional parameters, properties comes into picture. That is what I have listed here. Thickness ratio. I already given you several examples before. Thickness ratio means thinner, sheet thickness to thicker sheet thickness. Okay. So like, for example, here, if you see 1.5 to 1.8, correct? And then to 1.2, 2.7. So if you take these two sheets, left and right, 1.5 to 1.8, no? That 1.5 divided by 1.8, that is nothing but thickness ratio. Sometimes you can do vice versa also, thicker to thinner also possible. Okay. Similarly, you can have strength ratio also. Okay. Then weld orientation comes into picture. Right. So what is the orientation of weld? With respect to loading direction, that comes into picture. Materials welded, that's what I told you, strength ratio. Welding process adopted, laser welding, friction stir welding, we will see some examples. Okay, which welding you are going to weld? Same material, same thickness. Okay, but what process you are going to adopt? Welding parameters. So once you enter into one welding process, there are several parameters, right? Say for example, laser welding you take. Examples of speed, power, right? Intensity. Friction stir welding, if you see, I will give you some examples. There are several parameters. Weld orientation with respect to rolling direction of the sheet. That is also important. Correct. Here, weld orientation is relevant to loading direction. Here, weld orientation is with respect to rolling direction. Both are important. So, loading direction, rolling direction, weld orientation. These three combinations are important. So, what I am saying is, other than the properties of one sheet, there are specific such additional properties which are important when you speak about tailor welded sheets. We are going to see some examples of how this is going to affect. Okay, quick examples I will show you here. Okay, from existing details. Effect of thickness difference and material difference. That means thickness ratio and strength ratio. Along with that, I will also highlight some important details in each one. Okay. So in this particular example, you will see laser welding. Nd:YAG is used. Shielding as used is Algon, and this is a flow rate. And these are some important parameters in which welding is done: power, speed, focal length. And material is a particular steel grade, which has got a carbon composition of 0.128%. SPCC is a particular grade. Okay, probably it is some Japanese way of telling the grade, maybe. Okay, and you will see that they have constructed forming limit diagram, the same forming limit diagram which I have shown you here a couple of slides before, schematic. Same thing has been evaluated here. Okay, and you will see that the black color one, the topmost one, is a base metal, right? And you will see below base metal you have large window, which means that it has got a larger region for safe deformation. That means base metal has got better formability. That's the meaning. And you will see when you speak about tailor welded blanks, they have different combinations of thickness ratio: 1.25, 1.67, 2. And you will see with increase in thickness ratio, forming limit comes down. This curve moves down, no? Right? The square symbol is for base sheet, and this diamond based is for 2 mm thickness ratio. Okay. Dr. Namrata, can you see this figure clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine, good. Okay. So, and you will see that with increase in thickness ratio, the forming limit comes down, which means this curve moves down, which means that the window for safe deformation is decreasing. That's what I will tell you now. I will not go into details. I'll simply tell you the fact. There are two facts in this, two observations. One, on the whole, if you see, base metal has got better forming limit because there is no weld at all. Okay, it's one sheet of 1 mm thickness. Okay, and it's quite sensible and logical to expect that. But if you want to make a tailor welded blanks for the known advantages it has got, you need to reduce the thickness ratio, because thickness ratio, if you reduce, the forming limit approaches that of the base sheet, and that's what we want, right? See, you are converting a base sheet of SPCC material of 1 mm thickness to a welded sheet, okay, with the same material but with thickness ratio of 1.25. So we actually do not want formability reduction, right? Because you want to make a component, then you need this much of window to form. Then actually we need that much window. If you reduce the window, you cannot make the component. Okay, so our aim is to improve the forming limit. Okay, at the same time reduce the weight reduction. So naturally lower thickness ratio is preferred. So 1.25 is preferred. So whatever weight reduction you have with 1.25, you have to accept it. Okay, but if you further reduce increase the thickness ratio, you will see that the formability comes down, which we do not want. So it will give you an idea that if you are converting a base metal one sheet into a Taylor welded sheet, fixing laser welding, fixing shielding gas, fixing flow rate, fixing all the parameters, fixing the material, if you want to play with the thickness ratio, least thickness ratio is preferred. Okay, thickness 1 mm means what? Thickness ratio is 1. Okay, that is the meaning. So there is no weld, which means the thickness ratio is 1. That is the meaning. So ideally, you have to get a thickness ratio combination which is approaching that of the base sheet, and that is where optimization, playing with different material combination, different process parameters, all comes into picture. At least here in this example, say I am explaining this little elaborately so that you understand the context. Okay, so here at least all the parameters are kept constant, and only thickness ratio is modified. But we do not know, maybe 1.67 if you fix and change the shielding gas, change the flow rate, change power, it can lead to a better forming limit as compared to base material. That is also possible. Okay, so that's what I was telling you. The advantage, it will open up window for component designers to have a better sheet product. Okay, and of course the simplest way to explain forming limit curve is the height of deformation. You can see that you will see that the thickness ratio 2 has got 15.4, while on the other hand thickness ratio 1.25 has got a better dome or pole height, which means that it has got enhanced forming behavior. Right. So and this also will give you an idea. The right side form, the bar chart will give you what is happening to FLD0. The FLD0, this point, what happens to that? And that is also increasing. You can see that is also increasing. See, sometimes this lowermost forming limit does not come exactly in y-axis. It comes a little on the right side or left side. We call that as a near plane strain condition, and that can happen for several reasons, or few reasons, I would say. Okay, so you can see that example here. Okay, the minimum is not exactly happening in minor strain being 0. It is slightly away from that. Okay. Anyway, so that can happen mainly because of the change in strain path during deformation, all those things. Okay, but leave out all that. But the main idea here is with the increase in thickness ratio, there are chances of formability coming down, which we do not want. Okay, this is another example I will give you. Here you will see again Nd:YAG welding is used. The material is a cold roll steel sheet of a particular composition. Carbon composition is given. Laser details are provided. You can go through this. Okay, and shielding gas is also argon, glass flow rate of 10 liter per minute. And here you will see the thickness combinations are different. Thickness combinations are, you will see 0.7 to 0.8, 0.8 is to 1, and 0.7 is to 1. And you want to get good weld in these combinations, the power and welding speed also got changed. Okay, welding speed remains same, 40 mm per second, but power got changed. Only in those conditions, you will get a full penetration, and that is why it is changed. Okay, so you will see that again forming limit diagram can be obtained, and you will see there is a small failure here, and there is also small failure here. That basically tells that failure occurred in that sample doing formability studies while doing forming studies, and we cannot deform the material beyond that. And you will see that here also a combination which has got lesser thickness ratio. That means 0.7 is to 1 has got lesser difference. Here it is 0.2, here it is 0.3 difference, here it is 0.1 difference, and you will see that has got a better forming. Okay. It is also possible that okay, fine. So it's also possible that you can change material grades also. See, there is one problem in changing the strength of the material. Okay, so you cannot change the strength of the material alone, keeping all other properties constant practically for practical reasons. That's simply not possible. Correct. Thickness, yes. The thickness to some extent, yes. But then see, thickness also is a critical question, because when you combine 0.7 is to 0.8, that doesn't mean that other mechanical properties are constant between 0.7 and 0.8. That is not possible. So, but in strength, it is simply not possible. Okay, when you say that, okay, I'm going to weld the CR4 to DP 600, strength is different, but at the same time, all other properties can also change. But there is no other choice. If you have a strength difference, it means materials are different. Okay, and this is a good example of such differences. You will see CR4 to CR4, DP600, DP600, and CR340, HR340. This CR means cold roll, DP dual phase steel, CR cold roll, HR hot roll. Okay, and the different grades are provided. Their thickness are also different. You will see that 0.8, 1.6, 0.8, 1.4, 2.2, 1, and 1.5. And their properties are given. Yield strength, UTS. This is what I was telling you. Total elongation, uniform elongation. And I think you know the fact that uniform elongation is always lesser than total elongation. Okay, and strain hardening exponent. These are all known, parameters for us in materials and manufacturing. And they have this many combinations. These materials are combined in this way. CR4 0.8 is combined with HR340 1.5. That is the first one with the last one. Similarly, several combinations are possible, and they made welded blanks from this, and they have quoted FLC 0. FLC 0 means again this particular parameter. Not the entire FLC, only this. And you will see that for laser welded blank, it is given as 41, 38. This is in percentage. See, these are all strain values. These are all strain values. I will give you an example here. You can see this. Y-axis you can see 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. X-axis you can see 10, 20 on the left hand side, on the right hand side. Left hand side it is minus, because this is going to a tensile side. These are all values in percentage. Tensile percentage you can say 10%, 20% strain, 30% strain, like that. Sometimes in decimals also you can write 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. Does not matter. So here, when it comes to here, you will see this 41%, 38, 37, 30, 23, and you will see it is written in decreasing order. And accordingly, if you see, this also falls in between that of thin and thick. Okay, or closer to thinner one. See, thinner sheet, let us say 0.8 has got 41. Thicker sheet 38 of 1.5 has got 38%. Sorry, and laser welded blank is close to thinner one. Here laser welded blank is in between. Here laser welded blank is in between. Again 30, it is lesser than both of them, which is the worst case. 23 is also closer to thinner one. Okay, so two things. One, laser welded blank is either in between that of thin and thick, or closer to that of thinner one. Okay, and in all these cases you will see it is not better than thinner one. Okay, so you can see that this laser welded blank, depending on the combination of material and thickness, it falls either in between that of thinner and thick, or closer to that of thinner one. Okay, and you can also see, you will get a typical idea of material combination also. Maybe we can take maybe two cases and we can compare. See, let us say 0.8 is to 1.5, 1 to 1.6. So difference is let us say 0.7. Here it is 0.6, and you will see that in this case basically one is 38%, other one is 41%. That tells the effect of thickness as well as the effect of material change. Okay, so you can have such formability changes, okay, by combining different thickness ratio and strength ratio. But finally, what formability you want to make a component is fixed. So you have to pick up the right material choice and right combination of material choice to make that component. That is the final outcome of this. Okay, so see, to make a component, you have such a variety of steel grades and thickness combinations and strength combinations. Finally, you have to pick up from these 5 lots, which is the best combination you have. Okay, that is very important. So material selection is very important in this case. And you can this cross section, microstructural cross section, will give you typical the weld structure. Of course, the scale is not visible here. Okay, so I given you very briefly the effect of thickness difference and material difference on the formability aspect. Now, when it comes to
Sir,
weld
can I ask
orientation,
some question?
ma'am, I think let us put it at last. That would be better.
Okay, okay, sir.
We can have half-an-hour session on this.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So, but in due course, I will quickly move. Okay.
Okay, sir, fine.
So participants can note down. I'm slow now, but I will quickly move now. Okay. Please note down questions. We will discuss that. The last
Okay,
half
sir.
an hour. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So weld orientation, simply to speak, okay, from understanding point of view, you can have longitudinal transverse. But actual component, as I gave several examples in the sheet component, you will see that there are several different orientations. There is no end to that. So this weld orientation is decided by the sheet shape and size. See, optimizing the sheet shape is very important from industry point of view. So you see, we can make a deep drawn component in lab with a circular sheet or a rectangular sheet. But in actual component, if you see in industry, many of you also know that the shape of the sheet is very, very important. It has to be actually optimized so that in a coil of sheet, in a sheet coil, you pick up the sheet without wastage. So sheet nesting, that is called as sheet nesting. That is very important. But here we will say orientation. Here weld orientation means you take a rectangular sheet like thin sheet, thick sheet, and you weld. Simple. And weld orientation here means this weld, longitudinal weld orientation is along the loading direction or major straining direction. Here it is perpendicular. Simply to tell. Here also you can have 45 degree, 60 degree, 80 degree also. Everything is possible. Okay. And you can see this is a laser weld. And when you deform this material, you will see in longitudinal weld, failure occurs perpendicular to the weld. Fine, because you have thinner material on one side, thicker material on the other side of the weld. But in transverse weld, it's very critical one. You have thin and thick on both sides. Okay, but failure can happen in thinner sheet or in weld zone. Thicker generally no, because it is going to have a better load bearing ability when compared to thinner one. But thinner and weld region, whichever is weaker, that will fail. I have shown here a failure happens in the thinner one, but you can have failure in the weld zone also. But in longitudinal, it is not going to be like that. It is going to be always perpendicular. Okay, so I will give you some examples. Again, material is aluminum, 1 mm thick is taken as a raw material. Laser welding is used. Laser power, they have used between 1000 to 1600 watts. Welding speed is changed, focal length is changed, shielding as can be changed, flow rate can be changed, and you can see nicely the welded components. Okay, and you can see the transverse weld, it fails in the weld zone, I told you. And longitudinal weld at the bottom photo, you can see it fails perpendicular to the weld. And you can see typical sustained behavior. You will see longitudinal weld has got lower ductility as compared to transverse. And on the whole, if you see base material has got better forming, ductility. Correct. This is what we were seeing in forming limit also. Base material has got better ductility, better forming limit. Here also you will see base material has got better ductility as compared to transverse and longitudinal, and transverse weld has got better ductility as compared to longitudinal. Okay. Now you will see from strength point of view, from let us say UTS point of view and yield strength point of view, all of them has got almost the same. Yield strength you can see is about 120 megapascal, and UTS also you can see about let us say 225 or 230, close to that. But ductility, huge difference. You see here it is 35%, here it is about 32, and here it is very down. It is about 0.2 to 22%. And again, forming limit also is seen with, you can see that, they have developed forming limit curve for longitudinal transfers. And you can see that original sheet, the raw material has got, the raw sheet, the original sheet has got better forming limit. So these are the deformed sheets for evaluating forming limit. See, I have not explained all that. There are separate standard procedure to get forming limit curve of any material, including Taylor welded sheets. Like you have standard procedure to get sustained behavior. Here, this is another example where weld location becomes important. Again, these are all lab scale studies. This interstitial free steel, carbon is very low. Welding power is 3.5 kilowatt laser welding. Welding speed is used under optimized conditions. And you will see weld can be at the center of the sample, and weld can be at 20 mm offset from the center. Weld can be at 30 mm offset from the center. And they have developed forming limit curve. And you will see the bottommost figure I will explain first. The black color one is unwelded sheet. And the dotted ones, first one is transverse weld 20 mm offset. Transverse weld 30 mm offset. And you will see 30 mm offset has got slightly lower formability as compared to other two, which means the location of weld is also important. In a component, location of weld is very important because the weld should not be in a location where failure is going to happen. See, in any component, failure is going to happen in a particular location. Of course, you cannot predict failure because it depends on the material heterogeneity, how it develops, all that. But let us assume that failure is going to repeatedly is going to happen in one particular location. Then it means that weld should not be at that location. It has to be away from that. Okay, it has to be away from that particular location, because if you put weld also, weld is itself is a critical region, okay, where properties are going to be significantly different. Okay, now if you put weld in that near failure location, there are more chances that the component can fail little early. Okay, that is very, very important. That's what this is going to tell you. The lab scale formability study is going to tell you that 30 mm offset, which is very critical, is going to affect the forming limit. Okay, crashworthiness of Taylor welded blank is very important. Crashworthiness means like a crash type of situation. No, how worth is the Taylor welded blank doing such type of situation is basically determined by crashworthiness. Like I gave an example of a bumper, isn't it? Which is generally seen on the front side of any automotive car, or a Jeep or like that, right? So when it hits a rigid body, like wall or something, or during accident, that is the main part which is going to take up the entire shock, isn't it? So if you're going to make such type of components with the Taylor welded blanks, what's going to happen? That's what it's going to tell you. They have made tubes, square tubes out of Taylor welded sheets, and they are going to actually crush it, either by quasi-static test or by dynamic testing. Okay, and they have used DP600 with different thickness combinations, you can see, and axial crushing test was performed, and they have also done different orientations. Okay, I'll slightly zoom it so that you can see this bar chart. After that, I will unzoom it. Okay, so you will see that. Oh, sorry. I'll closely zoom it. Let us see like this. So y-axis is peak force, and x-axis is some nomination they have. Nominations are A, B, C. These A, B, C are different combinations. Okay, that much I can tell you. And I can tell you that peak force are different for different combinations. Okay, A is for one particular welded blank. Let us say DP600 1 mm, DP600 1.5, DP800 1 mm. A, B, C you can keep. And you can see peak force during that axial crushing test is this much. Different combinations. A, B, A, C, B, B, C, C, C. This is with weld orientation or weld location 1, weld location 2, weld location 3, and different combinations. All are possible, and they have evaluated the peak force. And you can see in all these combinations, the main idea is which material is good, whether A is good, B is good, or C is good, and which combination is good. You can see BB can take larger peak force. In this case, BC can take. In this case, BB. In this case, BB. Okay. So depending on the combination of material and weld location, which material is good can be optimized from this particular graph. Okay. So I'm just trying to appreciate the outputs they measured and how they select material. These are some photographs at different stages. Okay, how the material deforms during axial crushing. And this is quasi-static. This is basically in a UTM, just compress it. And the failure behavior also you see different stages. You can see different combinations: 0, 6 mm, 26 mm, 44 mm. They take photo shots and they have given you here. Their forming behavior, failure behavior, and the bending pattern also is going to be different. Okay. So one should appreciate the combinations of this, and whichever is acceptable, we have to pick up that kind of material combination and use that for making such type of components. So other than forming behavior, crushing is also very, very important. That's what this diagram, this study is going to tell. And along with that, different material combination, different thicknesses, different orientations. Okay, you can see here the last photograph, C photograph bottom, you can see 45-degree orientation. The first one is longitudinal. The second middle one is a transverse. Fine. Forming limit, tensile behavior, crushing behavior, thickness ratio, strength combination, orientation, location, all these things are important given a particular welding process. Now, there are some problems in welded blanks. One important problem, of course, forming limit is reduced, ductility is reduced, you have to enhance it, all those things are fine. Typically, weld line moves. When you do, let us say, deep drawing, when you perform deep drawing, let us say, weld line is not going to be at one location, weld line is going to be at different location after component is made. For example, you can see here, this round cup is formed, okay, wherein you can see that weld has to be at the center, right? But you will see the first photograph, weld is at a critical location. The right side photo, weld is at the center. That is because they have done something on the process. Why weld line moves? Weld line moves because there is a different drawing resistance to the materials. One material will have one drawing resistance when compared to other. So one is going to pull the other material, so weld line automatically moves. But we don't want, right? So you want weld to be at one particular location only. So how to avoid this weld line movement? First one is giving different blank holding force. Okay. So in this case, a constant blank holding force is used, that is 5 tons. But in this case, if you see, they have used a variable blank holding force. That means on the thinner side, they use 10 tons, on the thicker side, they use 1 tons only. So you resist the movement of thinner material so that your weld zone is at the center. So one way to avoid weld line movement is to provide different blank holding force. This is another example where you can see variable blank clamping system. What they have done is, I will show you schematic here. See, this is a component they make, and this component fails in this corner. Okay, this is made of aluminum material, 5 series, 1 mm on one side, 2 mm on another side. Okay, and when you do normal forming deep draw, depth of draw is 80 mm only, and it fails here. And weld line slightly moves also. But when they have done differential clamping mechanism or variable clamping mechanism, they made 100 mm draw and there is no failure. Okay, what is that variable clamping mechanism? What they have done is they have used a hydraulic cylinder to clamp the sheet closer to the weld, closer to this corner specifically, so that the material movement is actually manipulated, such that you avoid this necking. Okay, just I'm giving an example that in this type of welded blanks, there are chances that you can avoid failure, you can avoid weld line movement by such technologies, by such techniques. Which technique? By providing differential clamping mechanism, differential blank holder. Differential clamping mechanism means this: you apply local pressure such that you avoid movement of, you avoid plastic deformation, resist plastic deformation of these materials, and you avoid such weld line movement and cracking. Draw bead can be used on the thinner side. See, when you do deep drawing, one is thinner, one is thicker. No? Draw bead, the purpose of draw bead is to resist the well line, resist the sheet movement. Correct. So you provide draw bead or different profiles of draw bead or dimensions of draw bead on the thinner side, while on the thicker side, you don't have draw bead at all. That way also you can resist the well line movement. That's what is given here. And you can see the movement on y-axis is given diamond 0, 2, 4, 6 mm. You will see when you don't have bead at all, movement is more significant. Almost like 5 mm movement is there. But when you have a larger draw bead of 5 mm radius, movement is restricted. On the thinner side. Because thicker side you don't need because it's anyway stiff. Location of draw bead, correct. So this is very common sense, right? So you made a laser welder blank, okay, with the beam power, welding speed, flow rate, everything is fine. Okay, now thickness combination, you can see 0.8 is to 1.2, 0.8 is to 1.6, one particular steel. This is a common sense, right? So when you know finally the location is going to be at this particular location, then you can initially place the well line at an offset, so that when you deform the material, it will be at a desired location. That's what they have done. Okay, these are some data points available. Okay, so well line movement can be avoided. I'm just summarizing that by providing different blank holding pressure, a different clamping system, okay, provision of draw bead with different dimensions or shape, and initial location itself can be different. These are certain important methods of avoiding well line movement. Now, another important problem. Suppose if you make Taylor welded blanks using laser weld, and you also know that the laser weld is going to generate weld zone which is very, very small. So now sheet properties you can get from tensile test, correct? How do you get weld zone properties? Because its width is very small. There are some strategies available, because when you do modeling, I am not showing any example for modeling, but I will tell you the significance. When you do modeling, you have to give input for weld zone properties. No, the entire stress strain behavior have to be given input. So how do you get weld zone properties? There are two different methods. One, you make tensile sample such that the gauge width is occupied by the entire weld zone only. This photo you see, the sample photo, you will see the weld zone, only weld zone is available, no base material. Now you clamp it in UTM and then do tensile testing, you will get a stress strain behavior. That is nothing but a stress strain behavior of the weld zone. True stress versus strain I am giving here, you will get this. But you have to fabricate a sample like this. You have to use wire EDM to cut the sample such that there is no base material combination, all those things. There are other methods also. Simple mechanics approach is also possible. Right. Suppose you take a longitudinal weld like this and you are doing tensile testing. Load sharing principle is possible, isn't it? The total load will be equal to P1 plus P2 plus PW. Correct? That can be converted into a stress strain behavior, and you get the simple equation. Equation is between sigma W and epsilon W. These are variables. K1 N1 or the strength coefficient and strain hardening exponent of base material 1. Similarly, K2 A2 or the N2 or the, you know these properties. Area can be evaluated. P is a total load which is given by the machine. So you can substitute all these properties, and for different values of epsilon W, you can get different sigma W. That will give you the stress strain behavior. Same thing is also possible in transverse weld. Only thing is in longitudinal weld, load is additional. In transverse weld, strain is additional. Isn't it? Strain is added. Load is same in all the regions. In that way, you can get this stress strain behavior analytically also. There are some research papers where you can compare these two. All those things are possible. Like this, you can say, I'll just give you an example how they evaluated. Okay, weld metal. This weld zone has got this stress strain behavior. Welded blank on the whole has got this stress strain behavior. Base material has got the lowest one. Probably this is made of steel, and naturally because of some changes in phases, weld zone is stronger and less ductile as compared to the other two. Correct now? So you can see that the maximum load is quite 800 MPa when compared to base material, which is only 350 MPa. But ductility, you see, it is about only 10-11%, but ductility here is about 30%. And subsize 3 sample, you know, no? Subsize 3 sample, I have put a red color mark here. Subsize 3 sample is a very small sample. The total length itself is only 84 mm, and width is only 3.2 mm. Right. So now, other than laser welding, there are other welding methods. Friction stir welding is one more method. Okay. Dr. Namrata, I would like to give you 5 to 10 minutes break here. We will come back. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'll stop here because after this, we will quickly complete it in about 20-25 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. We'll have a brief stop here. I will come back. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Please stay online. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
So we'll have a break here right now. So we'll have a break. 5 minutes. Namrata, how much time we should give you for the break?
Yes, sir.
How much time? 5 minutes?
So 5 to 10 minutes.
As soon as the sir comes up, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Will not define any time because sir has defined. So when
So
sir
it is
comes,
just of 5 or 10 minutes.
whatever. So when sir comes, we'll start.
Okay, sir.
So can we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Oh, this is the way to see, huh? Okay. So now I am making slideshow. Just please check if it is moving down.
No, sir.
Oh. Okay, fine. So let us go ahead. So, okay, so that's what about laser welded sheets. Okay, similar concepts, whatever we discussed, are suitable for other welding processes also. So only thing that's going to change is the welding parameters. Correct. Okay, so now friction stir welding is another welding that people use to fabricate such tailor-made structures. And you all know that friction stir welding is a solid-state welding process. So it basically uses a rigid tool or non-consumable tool, you can say. It has got a pin and a shoulder, like the way it is shown here. And it is basically inserted into the plates or sheets to be welded. And it's going to give you some axial force and on the sheet. And it is also rotated and it is transversed along the direction in which you are going to weld. Okay. So, and mainly the welding happens because of plastic deformation of the plates or sheets and material mixing. Correct. And unlike fusion welding process or like laser welding, here it happens in a solid state. Okay. It's a green technology. It has got a good energy efficiency. It is environmental friendliness, eco-friendly, and it has got a lot of flexibility, versatility also. And the tool actually serves two important functions. One is heating of workpiece and movement of material. That is material mixing. Two things are done. Heating of workpiece mainly means because of friction and plastic deformation, and because it rotates, material gets moved, in a particular fashion. And there are lots and lots of benefits of friction stir welding. Metallurgical benefits are shown here: a low distortion of workpiece, okay, good dimensional stability, it has got good repeatability, excellent metallurgical properties, fine microstructure. Environmental benefits: when compared to fusion welding, you can see there is no shielding gas here, no surface cleaning required because anyway surface will get deformed. Okay, no wastage is available, no such solvents for degreasing. So all these things can be avoided. Energy benefits is the improved material use. It can have different thickness, different weight reduction is possible. Okay, and it is said that only 2.5% of energy needed for laser weld is used here. Okay, so all those things are basically benefits of this friction stir welding in general, and of course this can also be used for making welded sheets or tailor-made sheets. Okay, and the advantages are carried forward. So now again I will just highlight only the forming behavior. Okay, and I will tell you some quick case studies. Okay, so here if you see, it's aluminum 6 series with 2 mm thickness. Same material and same thickness are welded to make the things simple. And what are the combinations that can have? Welding speed can be changed, rotation speed can be changed, shoulder diameter can be changed, plunge depth can be changed, isn't it? Tilt angle can be changed. There are several parameters that can be changed, and you can deform the material like this up to the limit of its formability, and you can get the forming limit curve. And here you can see, I'll just give you, I will not give details, I will tell you what happens here. This is again forming limit curve. You imagine that you have done lab scale experiments, you got the forming limit curve on the right hand side only. The left hand side of the diagram is not there. Only right hand side is given as example. And here you will see, it is exactly opposite to what you saw in laser welded thing. In laser welded, predominantly you will see welded sheet has got lesser forming limit. But here you will see this black color one is unwelded. Both the welded blanks have got better formability as compared to unwelded. You see that? That's what I was telling you. The welding process will have its own inherent advantage. This inherent advantage is improving in the formability. So you can see unwelded blank has got only this much of window, while on the other hand, the welded blanks has got a larger window depending on the welding speed and rotation speed. Right. So the uppermost one, which is got 1400 RPM, has got better forming limit as compared to 1300 RPM. So increase in RPM actually increase the forming limit. Okay, and both the welded sheets has got better formability as compared to unwelded sheet. This is a very good example. Okay, why it happens? Those details are there, but then it will give you an idea of, though this is the case, welded blanks have got better formability, and you have light weighting also. Similarly, you can change the like rotation speed, welding speed also can be changed to enhance the formability. Similarly, you can have other parameters in this. You can see, I will give you example. You can see change the plunge depth. You can see the plunge speed. You can see you can change the shoulder dimensions, pin dimensions, shoulder profile, pin profile. I think several of you must be working on friction stir welding by now, and you can see all the parameters can affect the formability. Right. Spring back can be controlled. This is another example. You see that this is a V bending done, the first figure. The second photo you will see after load removal, there is a relaxation of the sheet. That spring back can be controlled with the help of friction stir welding. And you will see the spring back angle is shown as a function of rotation speed and welding speed and shoulder diameter in these two figures. And you will see that the red color and pink color boundary are for the normal base sheets. Okay, and all the friction stir welded sheets fall in between. You can see 6 series near radius, 5 series near radius. So when you combine 6 series and 5 series and make friction stir welded sheets, it fall in between. Similarly, pink color one is also another spring back theta 2. Here also you will see the spring back falls in between. Spring back angle means what is the angle? Angle between the new angle and the original angle which you want to deform. That's all. Or either delta theta or the new theta. Either way you can put. Okay, and you can see that with increase in shoulder diameter x-axis, your spring back angle reduces, which is good. We don't want spring back. We want lesser spring back. So in that way, spring back cannot be reduced using friction stir welded sheets, using friction stir processing, using a particular combination of shoulder diameter, particular combination of RPM, welding speed. Correct. So you can control the stamping behavior or forming behavior or spring back using friction stir welding. End forming example. Tubes can be formed. Correct. Cylindrical tubes are available, no? Like water cans. Cylindrical tubes are available. And you can see water cans has got end reduction. That means a tube is formed at the end. Tube is expanded at this end. Tube is bulged at the ends. Okay. Similarly, you can have friction stir welded tubes and you can have such expansion, reduction and beading. Okay. This is the simplest example. But the complex example could be different combinations of thickness and materials made in tubes which are made by friction stir welding. Correct. You can take two semicircular parts of the tube which has got different thicknesses and they can be welded. Correct. Right now, so you have one aluminum tube of 1 mm thick, same material, 1.5 mm thick. You can cut two halves axially and you can put this 1 mm and 1.5 mm together. You weld it. You can create another tube which has got lesser weight because the volume is reduced, the thickness of the material is reduced. So the overall weight reduction is possible. Which welding you are going to use? You can use friction stir welding. And again, you can go for such manufacturing process like end forming, reduction, beading. Correct. While doing so, it has been found that the energy absorption means during this quasi-static end forming only, okay, of this welded blanks or the processed ones can be at par with the parent tube. Some examples are given here. Okay, see, this is one example where the plunge depth is of the order of, let us say, 2.9 mm, 2.95 and 3 mm, and you can see the energy absorption has been evaluated and it is compared with the parent tube in expansion, reduction and beading. And you will see that they are approaching that of the parent tube. In one case, it is less. In the other case, it is better in reduction. In beading, it is also closer to that of your parent tube, which is a good development from using the friction stir welded blanks point of view. Correct. And This end forming, just an extension of this, can be used to join sheets, join metallic structures, join sheets to tubes, join tube to tubes. Okay. So you want tailor-made structure, no? Tailor-made structures can be made using end forming also. It is not a metallurgical joint, but mechanical joint. How it is possible? For example, this metallic tube can be joined with another tube to make a metallic structure, the whole structure or a system, and they are joined by end forming only. You can see that scheme is provided here. What they have done here is both the sheet are bulged at the ends and they are clamped within each other. You can see the middle schematic. Okay. The inner tube is bulged at the end, the outer tube is also bulged at the end at the same time, and they are clamped within each other to make one system, okay, one long tube made of two short tubes, but they are joined by end forming. So instead of welding at the ends, they are joined by end forming. Okay, you can also go for fusion welding. You can also go for circumferential friction stir welding. But we don't do that. There is no metallurgical bonding required. Okay, there is mechanical locking itself is sufficient. One main advantage of this, there is significant strain hardening that's going to happen in such bulging process. Significant strain hardening that's going to happen. That strain hardening is going to enhance the locking ability as well as the joint strength. This is another example. The sheet is kept undeformed, and you will see that this tube and sheet are joined by mechanical interlocking. Okay, this upper part is shown here. There is a bottom part also. The upper part is actually a bulge, and bottom part is actually a neck formation. And between that neck and the bulged edge, okay, bulged region, okay, the sheet is kept. That means it is locked. What is the main advantage? Again, the tube is only deformed. Sheet is actually undeformed at all. Sheet is not going to have any change in properties. If you use fusion welding, both will have change in properties. If you use friction stir welding, again, both will have change in properties. Okay, but these two structures are perpendicular to each other. I don't know how you will go for friction stir welding. Maybe it's very difficult. Laser welding is possible because it is non-contact. Friction stir welding, you have to design a specific tool for that. But here, you can have simple die punch. Simple machines can be used, like UTM can be used, and locally you deform the material, one material only, tube, and you can join these two structures. This is also tailor-made structure only. Okay, there are several locations where sheets are joined to pillars, tubes, right? Joining of tube to tube, this is also possible. Like rotary swage forming, we know, right? We teach in manufacturing process, right? Rotary swaging. Using that, you can join tubes like this. You can see at the end of the tube, one inner tube and outer tube, they are joined mechanically at one location by rotary swage. This is another method. Tube to tube can be joined. You can see different diameters. Inner tube has got a smaller diameter as compared to outer tube. And the schematic is shown here very nicely. There is a punch, there is a die which are attached to UTM. And what is happening here? A punch is coming down, a sheet is also moving down, and sheet is bent with the die profile. And this outer tube is bent because of the upper die profile. And they get interlocked within each other and they form a component like this. Right. Finally, you see the inner tube, the black color one is joined with the blue color one. Okay. And of course, this combination of tubes can be used for any transportation purposes. You want to transfer, fluids, all those things can be used. Okay. So where there is restriction of length of the tube, and that is where you use welding to join these two tubes, this type of end forming can also be used for join. Okay. No metallurgical bonding, no fumes, nothing. Okay. Only with strain hardening, you can join these two tubes. Lot of inherent advantages, and it is sustainable. This is another typical process that we did recently, a couple of years before. Lathe machine can be used to join metallic structures. We generally use lathe to, go for turning and other, machining process, right? Like a typical BTech labs, isn't it? We do, right? But here, you can see in the rotating chuck, you hold you clamp a circular rod. It's typical metallic rod. It could be non-metallic also. Okay. And there is a sheet, but the sheet you need to have a hole. Fine. That you keep it ready. Metallic sheet. Now what do? You create a tool which has got a blunt edge like this. This tool is actually made of tool steel, let us say, which should be stronger than the the deformable rod, the material. A tool can have any profile. I'm giving you two profiles here. One is a blunt one. The other one is also blunt but little sharp edge. Now what do? You clamp it in the tool post, and automatically you make the tool post to move along the rail. And what will happen once the tool contacts the deformable rod? The rod will undergo plastic deformation. It won't remove material. It will undergo plastic deformation like this. Circumferentially, it will undergo plastic deformation because it is a rotating deformable rod. This fellow, a tool, is moving in the perpendicular to the rod. It's a rigid tool. Okay, so naturally, the deformable rod will undergo plastic deformation, and plastic deformation occurs in the form of accumulation. The material gets plastically deformed and it gets accumulated at one location. You stop it. Now you will see the end region diameter is reduced, and you already have a sheet with a hole. You push it inside and clamp the sheet properly. Okay, and then you go for second accumulation with the existing material, and again the material gets plastically deformed. Okay, the rod is plastically deformed, and the sheet is not going to undergo any deformation, and the sheet is locked in between two accumulated regions. And this type of structures are formed. This is just a conceptual one. It's a very handy sheet and handy rod. Okay, how to do it for larger rods, larger sheets? One has to think about. We have to modify certain things. Okay, but it is possible, and you will see it does not depend on the size of the sheet. Right? It also depends on the size of the rod and how much deformation you are giving to the rod. And you can clamp the sheet in between, and they are getting joined. It's a tailor-made structure. You imagine now the rod is made of nylon, or let us say polyurethane, for example. How do you join that type of material with sheet? You cannot. You cannot use fusion welding. You cannot use friction stir welding, and I don't see any welding other. Maybe you can use adhesive bonding, which is also not that's going to be that strong. Okay, now this type of method can be used to join such metallic structures, and it is quite strong because again I am saying this rod is heavily strain hardened here. These are all different stages I am just shown. Okay, you can see the first accumulation. Rod is held here, aluminum rod, but the tool is made of tool steel, and the first sheet is kept here, and the second accumulation is done, and finally you have two structures made. Okay. Anyway, so these are laser welded sheets, friction stir welded sheets, and tailor-made structures made of mechanical joining, or some examples. There are other welding methods also. See, laser welding has got high equipment cost. High precision cutting is important. We know that end cutting is very important. Edge surface is very important. End preparation is very important. Edge preparation, and there are varieties of laser welding: Nd:YAG, CO2, fiber laser. Fiber laser is also very advantageous. Along with that, mass seam welding is also used. Mass seam welding is actually resistance welding that involves sheet end surfaces being overlapped with end crushing or by rotating electrodes. They actually get crushed between two rollers, and these rollers act as electrodes also. So there are some advantages actually. Okay, people say that it has got good productivity, a low equipment cost. Edge anyway is going to undergo deformation. No need for precision cutting. But only problem is people say it has got inferior weld performance, and look wise it has got a very bad look, and weld quality is also poor. Plasma arc welding is another one, but it is low welding speed. It has got low welding speed, and weld performance generally it is inferior to laser weld because of higher heat input. Probably distortion is also very high. There are other welding processes which are used to make tailor-made structures, but these are very restrictedly used. Mass seam welding, plasma arc welding, like that. Laser welding, yes, for aluminum alloys, magnesium alloys, like that. Friction stir welding is, yes, abundantly used these days. So this is one example which will give you idea of how they compare laser welding, mass seam welding, plasma arc welding. I will not go into the details. I'll just tell you one important result, that it has been finally decided that whatever material combination you can use, laser welding is the best for high strength materials. Okay. Now leave out all those things. Now, friction stir additive manufacturing is another important, recently, studied, method for making tailor-made structures. Friction stir additive manufacturing, like again, laser-based, arc-based, wire arc-based. There are several varieties of additive manufacturing. Friction stir additive manufacturing is one of them. So what you do here is very simple. You keep one sheet on the other sheet, clamp it, and then just stir it. They are joined one above the other at one location. Keep the third sheet, again stir it. Keep the fourth sheet, again stir it. Okay. So 2 layer, 3 layer, 4 layer, several layers can be formed one above the other until you make the structure. Okay. And you can see they have also, made such kind of conceptual design of how to use such type of friction stir additive manufactured structures. People say that because of significant, advantages and good material properties, they can be used to have make this kind of stringer, type of structures. Okay, you can also make this type of rib flange type of structures. Okay, using friction stir additive manufactured structures. Okay, schematic showing fabrication of high performance stiffeners assemblies by using friction stir additive manufacture. You can see different colors are used. They are basically additively friction stir additively manufactured structures which are made one above the other. What are the merits? Merits are potential to fabricate large sized components. That is yes, because you are going to weld in only one location. Naturally, you can make large sized components. Contamination of weighing surface is not there like other methods because the entire material is going to deform. And friction stir welding inherently has got a good advantage of combining different materials for joining, unlike fusion welding. Process forces and tool geometries, they can be easily governed to make an efficient joint. Okay, and it is also well documented that the repeatability, the reproducibility of such joints are good. So that is true for friction stir additive manufactured structures also. You make 100 components from this with good reproducibility. And again, as I told you, tailor-made structures, tailor-made microstructures, tailor-made structures are definitely possible. This is a typical example they made. You can see that a large window frame made of AA6061 is A figure. B figure, they have made a pressure vessel also. AA6061 pressure vessel printed in less than 2 hours and machined to final surface finish. See, that is possible using this type of methods. Yes. So the last section is adhesive bonding. So with adhesive bonding also, one can make tailor-made structures. Correct. So what is adhesive bonding? It's very simple. You have 2 sheets, you bond them with an adhesive in between. Upper sheet, lower sheet, and there's a green color portion which is adhesive. This is also predominantly used to make sandwich structures. Sandwich structure is another important material. Okay, good development is going on now, wherein the middle portion, the core region, is going to be a foam or any polymer or metallic foam. Okay, like that. And above and below you can have sheets, skins, and they are bonded by adhesive. Okay, so the core region is less stiff and less dense, something like that, and you can make a bonded sheets. And you can see the variety of applications of bonded sheets are available here. Okay, so I just given you an example here. Composites, steel, titanium, aluminum. These are all total materials by weight they use in the aeroplane. And here also you will see these are all some of them are adhesive bonded. Different materials are adhesive bonded. Okay, and here also you will see aluminum profiles, aluminum sheet panels, steel, cast aluminum. This much of contribution of variety of materials are there, and they can be adhesively bonded. And just to give you a brief idea, what are other bonding methods? Press bonding, laser bonding, explosive bonding, roll bonding is there. Along with that, you have adhesive bonding. Just these are all schematic. I will not go into details of this. Okay. Why I am saying is, you should not think that adhesive bonding is only extra tailor-made materials through which you can make tailor-made materials. You can have explosive bonding also, laser bonding also, press bonding also. All are going to make tailor-made structures. Accumulator roll bonding is a very important, technique by which you can make tailor-made structures. Okay. Yes. So now this adhesive bonding also has got inherent, flexibility to change its overall, deformation behavior. One example is properties of adhesive. Okay. It is a sandwich material only, but the core layer is made of adhesive itself, like that. And if you can see this example, it is deep drawing quality steel bonded with stainless steel using epoxy adhesive. And you can change epoxy adhesive properties, okay, by changing its resin to hardener ratio. And by doing that, you will see this is a typical load extension graph. You can see there is a tremendous change in the ductility and load requirements. So you can basically manipulate the stress strain behavior, manipulate the final forming behavior, deformation behavior by changing the core properties, keeping the thickness constant. Now, this example will tell you, okay, how forming limit changes with thickness. You can see A5052 5 series is combined with polyethylene. Polyethylene is a polymer core, and they are bonded by adhesive, let us say. The formability of this particular sandwich sheet increases with increase in the thickness of polyethylene core. That means the same forming limit, you will see that a 3 mm sandwich has got better forming as compared to 1.5 mm sandwich, and 2 mm sandwich, it is in between. And you also know that sandwich sheet is also used for lightweight applications. And if you use this type of combination of materials, and if you change the thickness of the polyethylene core, it is said that formability can improve. Again, this is another example where if you use lubricant, then you can further enhance the forming behavior. That's all. Okay, if you put a lubricant during this forming behavior, you can further enhance the formability when compared to dry friction. That's what it says. That we also know. Anyway, this is another example where you can do, modeling, like a deformation of sandwich sheet modeling is a very important task, because other than the base metal properties and core properties, you have to take this adhesion properties in between into numerical modeling. That is very important. So in that way, people use Cauchy zone modeling, CSM. That's what is mentioned here. I will not go into details, but you can do modeling work also. Yeah. So I will stop here with one last slide, that spring back can also be controlled using adhesive bonded sheets by varying its core properties. Like a tensile behavior can be controlled, forming behavior can be controlled. Similarly, spring back can also be controlled. Like this is one example. Hardener to resin ratio, if you change, actually hardener to resin ratio, the best combination is 0.8. But if you decrease or increase it, you will see that with increase in hardener to resin ratio, angle in degrees, that is increasing, and the least one, 0.6, is the best. 0.6 is the best in V bending. You can imagine like a V bending, and you are calculating the angle after load is released, and you will see that for 0.6, if you maintain, spring back is going to be less when compared to 1 mm. Okay, and some data is provided here. Okay, so anyway, I'll stop with this. I'll make a concluding remarks that tailoring sheet is important for various advantages. Tailor-made blanks, or it's a gone technology, and you can use welding, varieties of welding process. You can use friction additive manufacturing. Okay, you can use adhesive bonding. You can use accumulated roll bonding to make that kind of structures. Okay, and that is going to give you lots and lots of benefits. For example, TWB, if you take, a lot of flexibility. Multiple welds are possible, non-linear welds, welding methods are possible. Okay, this increase in complexities while fabricating tailor-made structures are actually provided a lot of opportunities for scientific research. Okay, both practical aspects like experiment as well as modeling aspects, like optimization of parameters, okay, theoretical analysis, all those things. Okay, so with that, I'll stop here. Okay, you can have a question session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Professor Narayan, sir. Any questions from the participants, please?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, are laser welding and friction stir welding are the two main welding processes to weld tailor-made sheets, or there are any other process to to weld these sheets?
See, predominantly laser welding is used for ferrous grades, stainless steel ferrous steels like that. Aluminum has got some disadvantage. Aluminum also is welded, but then it is little difficult to optimize it. And friction stir welding is just opposite, because welding steel, it is possible these days. It's little difficult because of the tool requirements. It is used mainly for non-ferrous type. So these are the predominantly used two welding methods. And of course, if you see, laser welded blanks are predominantly used these days for simple reason that it is quick. In just couple of seconds, few seconds, you can just finish that operation. Okay, and friction stir welding is well developed technique, and it is used to some extent, in variety of materials. There are a lot of applications these days. Okay, but these two are the main. That is correct. There are few others, but not much used. Mainly because of the industrial restrictions. The industry scale, you have to use it. No, that's the main thing. These are the predominantly used ones. Correct.
Okay, sir. Sir, with lower thickness ratio of sheets, we can obtain the higher formability.
Yes.
So, sir, sheets are welded at the edges in order to make the tailor-made sheets. So, what happens during forming means, is there any chance of welded reason failure during deformation?
Yes, very well possible. Okay, that actually there should not be any failure in the welded sheet to make a component. Correct, because we don't want a sheet with failure. Naturally, you don't. Of course, you cannot make a component with failure, right? Suppose you are making a stainless steel wash basin. Who wants failure anywhere? So naturally, you don't want failure. Okay, but failure can happen depending on the the ductility of the base sheets and the ductility of the weld. Okay, that is why I was telling you in one of the slides that weld should be placed at appropriate location. Definitely not in the critical location that it can fail there.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. So,
Yeah.
sir, weld orientation, weld locations, and differential
Yes.
clamping
Weld
pressure,
orientation,
all
weld
are the
location.
essential parameters.
Yes. Everything combinedly affect the failure pattern.
Yes, sir. Sir, one more question I am having. Sir, in friction stir additive manufacturing, sheets are stacked one over the other to produce additively manufactured components with using the non-consumable metallic tool, I think. So, can we use consumable tool to manufacture the FSA manufactured components?
Yes, that is possible. In fact, this example I showed, actually I did not say that because of the time restriction. This example says that only. If you see this example, here you will see rotating shoulder during additive friction manufacturing. It is a deposition actually. You will see that a shoulder has got a hole inside, and in that there is a filler material. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
that the
It's
yellow
clear
color,
now.
yes, the yellow
Yes.
color patch is a filler material, and while moving, that filler material keep on coming in, and then it gets settled, deposited, and they make the structures. Okay. So
Yes,
definitely
sir.
it is possible, and without also it is possible. Without filler material deposition is also not possible. Basically, tool is non-consumable. That is also possible.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Namrata. Thank you, Dr. Narayan. Any other questions from any participant before we proceed for lunch? No. So I have already pasted the feedback of this session in the this.